Today, we're talking to people who have Canada visitor visas and want to know how they can convert it to permanent residency. The truth is that visitors to Canada are always wondering, can I just stay and not go back? Can I apply for permanent residency while I'm here? Can I work here? What are my options? These questions are common, and your friends and family will encourage you to stay back. But if you stay, is that wise? As a Canadian immigration expert, I hear these questions all the time. I mean, a visitor visa is to visit for sure, but are there options to stay back in Canada? That's what this video is about. What can you do with your visit visa in Canada? Today, I'll walk you through every option step by step. I will clear up some myths and I will give you the real truth about converting a visitor stay into permanent status. Let's break it down. The first thing that I will say, and this is so important, is that you must maintain legal status in Canada at all times. That means before your visitor visa expires, which is usually in 6 months, you need a plan. Now, here are the main routes for what I think you can do with your visitor visa. First thing I want you to do is to extend your visitor status. You can apply for a visitor record to stay longer. Now, this isn't automatic. You have to apply before your current status expires. In fact, RCIP advises you to apply at least 30 days before your stay runs out. The visitor record itself will list a new expiry date, which is often up to 6 months more. In practice, this extension buys you some time to make a solid next plan. But remember, a visitor record application is not guaranteed to be successful, and it's not a permanent resident ticket. You still can in Canada with it. Another thing that you can do is to switch to a study permit. If you want to study, you generally must leave Canada to apply. According to RCIP, most people can't apply for a study permit from within Canada. You must leave the country and apply from outside. One exception is if you are doing very short courses under 6 months at non-DLI schools in Canada. According to RCIP, only some people can apply for a study permit from within Canada. If you are currently in Canada and one of these applies, you can apply from within Canada. If you have a valid study or work permit, if your spouse or common law partner or your parent has a valid study or work permit, if you're a minor child in primary or secondary school, if you are an exchange student or visiting student, if you completed a short-term course or a study program that is required to be accepted at a designated learning institution, if you or your spouse or your common law partner or your dependent child has a temporary resident permit valid for 6 months or more, if you're being sponsored to immigrate and you already applied for permanent residency, that's if you're eligible. You or your spouse or common law partner or your dependent child are subject to an unenforceable removal order. If you are the spouse or the common law partner or your dependent child of an athlete or on a team based in Canada, or a member of the media, or you are a member of the clergy, or the military personnel on duty in Canada, or you are an accredited foreign representative, or you are a refugee claimant in Canada, or a family member of a refugee claimant in Canada. That's RCIP's rule. So if you are in any of the categories I just mentioned earlier, you can apply for a study permit from within Canada. But if not, you have to leave Canada to apply for a study permit. So what you can do while you're a visitor is to get the admission. You can just walk into the school, talk to them, get your admission, and once you've gotten it, you leave Canada to apply for a study permit. Now, if you decide that you don't want to study, but you want to work, you can find a job and get a work permit. If you're in Canada as a visitor, you cannot legally work. A visitor visa does not give you the right to work. You can attend interviews and look for a job, but you must not start working until you get a proper work permit. The usual route is this. A Canadian employer gives you a job offer. They get a labor market impact assessment or the LMIA to prove that they couldn't find a Canadian or a PR for that role. With that LMIA and job offer, you apply for a work permit tied to that employer. Before, there was a temporary public policy that allowed many visitors in Canada to apply for an employer-specific work permit from inside Canada. That policy ended on August 28, 2024. After that date, IRC's rules says very clearly that visitors in Canada are not eligible to apply for a work permit from inside Canada in the normal case. So today, in most situations, you can search for a job while you are here as a visitor, but when it is time to apply for the actual work permit, you will usually need to apply from outside Canada or at the port of entry if you qualify under other rules. You still cannot start working until the work permit is approved. There are only limited exceptions where someone in Canada can apply for a work permit from inside the country, and a simple visitor with no other status does not fit those categories. Just having family in Canada or just having a job offer does not change that. So the bottom line now is, as a visitor, you cannot just change to a work permit from inside Canada anymore. You can look for a job, but you will usually have to leave and apply for your work permit from outside Canada. And you must not work until that work permit is approved. But you might be asking, what about the RCIP and the AIP programs, which are PR programs? RCIP and other related community programs let a designated employer in a particular rural community offer you a job. Then with a community recommendation, you apply for permanent residency. Once you get the community recommendation and you apply for PR, there's also an option for a 2-year employer-specific work permit while your PR application processes, assuming conditions are met. When you come to Canada as a visitor and you're trying to move into programs like the Atlantic Immigration Program, the AIP, or the Rural Community Immigration Program, the RCIP, the steps are very different from the normal visitor to work permit approach. These programs are built around job offer to PR, not start working first. So the first thing that you must do is keep your visitor status valid while you search for the right employer. You are not allowed to work on a visitor visa, but you can apply for jobs, attend interviews, and talk to designated employers in AIP or RCIP communities. Once a designated employer decides that they want to hire you, they give you a full-time, non-seasonal job offer that meets the program rules. That job offer then goes through a community or provincial approval process. RCIP uses a community recommendation and AIP uses a settlement plan and provincial endorsement. Once you get that approval letter, something important happens. You now qualify to apply for permanent residency under that program, even if you are still in Canada as a visitor. Your visitor status does not stop you from applying for PR, and you do not need to already be working in the job for your PR application to be accepted and processed. The challenge is the work permit, not the PR. By the current rules, visitors in Canada are no longer allowed to apply for a work permit from inside the country, even if they have a valid AIP or RCIP job offer. So after you submit your PR application, you have two choices. You can stay in Canada as a visitor, extend your visitor status when necessary, and simply wait for you to be approved. This is legal, but it means that you cannot work until PR comes through. Or you can take the faster route, leave Canada, apply for the AIP or RCIP employer-specific work permit from outside the country, and then return once the permit is approved. That lets you start working while your PR is still being processed. In simple terms, the job offer allows you to apply for PR, but your visitor status does not allow you to activate the job inside Canada. You either wait inside Canada without working, or you step out, apply for the work permit properly, and re-enter Canada to start the job. That's the correct and legal process today. Now, another thing that you can do is to marry a Canadian or a permanent resident and do the spousal sponsorship. So if you genuinely marry a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, you become eligible for sponsorship. In that case, you can apply for PR under the spouse or common law partner in Canada class. The big benefit of this is that you can stay in Canada while the application is processed, and usually you qualify for an open work permit in the meantime so that you can work legally while you're waiting. The key point though is that this must be a bona fide marriage, like a genuine marriage. Fraudulent marriages are illegal and heavily scrutinized. But if it's real, marrying a Canadian or a PR can be a powerful path for you. You can also claim refugee protection or asylum, but only if you qualify. Canada's asylum system is designed for people who are fleeing persecution, not just wanting to stay in Canada. RCIP is clear. You must have a well-founded fear of persecution, risk of torture, risk to life, or cruel, unusual punishment in your home country. If you truly face those dangers, you can claim refugee status either at the border or from within Canada. However, this is a high-risk route if your situation doesn't genuinely fit those criteria. I emphasize this. Asylum isn't an easy loophole. If you lie or you exaggerate to get asylum, RCIP will flag it as a fraud. In fact, their policy wants that if you submit false documents or information, your entire application will be refused and you could even be banned from Canada for 5+ years. So, only consider this if your life is truly in danger back home. Last but not least is special pilot programs like the Caregiver programs. Now, there have been rare pilot programs that let certain temporary residents move to permanent residency. For example, from 2019 to 2024, Canada ran the Home Childcare Provider and the Home Support Worker pilots. It was a 5-year initiative that allowed experienced caregivers in NOC Tier 44100 and 44101 and their families to get permanent residency. These programs required very specific jobs and enough hours of experience. However, both pilots officially closed on June 17, 2024. But Canada did launch new home care worker pilot programs in 2025, but they work almost the same way as before. You must have a qualifying caregiver background, a full-time job offer in Canada, and you must meet all the requirements for the program. These streams continue to be niche and only suitable for those with real caregiver experience. Now, throughout all these options that I just gave you, there's a common theme: honesty and status. You must always maintain valid status in Canada. Don't overstay without applying for something legal, and never use someone else's information or fake documents. The penalties like refusal and bans are very severe. Now, let's address some common myths versus facts when it comes to visitor visas in Canada. Let's bust some myths that I hear a lot. One common myth is this: I can just apply for PR using my visitor visa. The fact is no. Canada has no automatic visitor to PR route. You must fit into a legitimate PR program because the visitor visa alone does not make you eligible for PR applications. Another myth is this: I can work on my visitor visa. The fact is absolutely not. By law, a visitor is not allowed to work. The only work a visitor may do is informal job searching, example interviews, or short-term unpaid activities. Anything beyond that is illegal without a work permit. So you cannot start a job on a visitor visa. You need a work permit first. The next myth is this: immigration officers told me to claim asylum at the airport. There have been rumors and even isolated news reports of CBSA officers suggesting asylum claims to visitors. Well, I cannot confirm if that's true or not, but in reality, officials do not routinely push visitors into asylum. As RCIP explains, you can only legitimately seek protection if you really have those extreme risks. If not, claiming asylum can backfire badly. Don't believe any quick fix. This is a serious legal pathway, not a loophole. The last myth is this: I'll just marry someone here and get PR immediately. Well, the fact is this: even with marriage, there's a process. While spousal sponsorships can work in Canada, RCIP will scrutinize the marriage to ensure that it's genuine. It's not an instant PR for you. You still apply and you wait for months. You can stay in Canada during the processing, but you won't get PR right away. And fraudulently claiming a marriage or a marriage of convenience is a crime. The bottom line is this: Canada doesn't easily convert visitors into permanent residency. It's not a simple switch. Each path above comes with its rules, and there are often long processes as well. But it's not hopeless. Many people do succeed by carefully using the right strategy and timing. For example, I've seen visitors extend their stay, then switch to a study permit, come back, gain work experience, and ultimately apply via the express entry or a PNP pathway. Or I've seen friends and families sponsoring each other through marriage or parent sponsorship. The key truths are that your status matters. You must always be in legal status. Never let your visa expire without applying for an extension or change of status. Honesty is essential as well. Always tell the truth in applications. Plan early. If your stamp expires in weeks, don't wait. Many processes like study, work, even extensions need time. And of course, get help if you are unsure. The immigration system is complex. Asking the right questions is the first step. Many people in your shoes manage to stay by pivoting to a student or worker pathway or by family sponsorship. But one truth that I must tell you is that with the right timing and permissions, staying in Canada longer is possible. But it usually involves moving from visitor to some other authorized status first. If you're still unsure which pathway fits you, here are some next steps that you can follow. 1. Assess your situation. Are you close to expiring? If yes, consider applying for a visitor record immediately. If not, gather information. Do you have family here? Are there study opportunities or job offers you can take? Then research. Look at RCIP's official pages or consult a professional. Each program has checklists for funds, acceptance letters, etc. Consider a consultation. I offer one-on-one chats where we map out your personal visitor to PR plan step by step. We have a program specifically for people like you. It's all about finding the viable pathway and timing it right. Remember, this isn't something to do alone if you're confused. With the information that I share, which is just for information purposes and not immigration purposes, many people, including visitors, have been able to navigate. They've been able to get their questions answered and make right decisions. So you are not the first and you won't be the last. If this video raised questions or you want tailored advice, reach out for a one-on-one chat. The link is on the screen and in the description and the pinned comments. We can just discuss as friends and rub minds together to figure out the best route for you. Staying in Canada legally is challenging, but with the right knowledge, it's doable. Don't just lose your status. I'm here to help you figure it out. Good luck, and remember that every big journey starts with understanding the basic rules. Make sure to like and share this video with a friend who needs to see it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.